One line, 8 words, no sender. Check your husband's hotel room tonight. M. She froze. Her breath stalled. Her hands trembled for a second, then steadied. You would steady your hands too if your marriage felt tight, but you kept telling yourself everything was fine. A message like that tears the floor from under you. It forces you to ask a question you fear. Have you ever sensed a problem and kept quiet because you hoped you were wrong? Have you stayed in a routine because breaking it felt harder than holding on? Selena sat in her living room, staring at the screen, replaying every late meeting, every locked phone, every smile that no longer reached his eyes. She worked so hard to give her marriage warmth, yet she felt distance grow day by day. A warning like this hit her where she lived, in the place she kept her trust. But what do you do when truth knocks on your door without mercy? Do you ignore it? Do you walk toward it? Or do you wait for someone else to decide your future? Tonight would decide Selena's next chapter. Not with a fight, not with a scene, but with quiet movement. Quiet movement shapes real outcomes. Everin Hale, her husband of 5 years, owned the Oslin Hotel. She helped design the executive suites, line by line, from lighting to marble trim. She knew those halls like she knew the sound of his voice. Still, she never thought she would return as a stranger. She grabbed her keys. No makeup, no coat over her sweater, only truth pushing her forward. Outside, the night air pressed against her skin. She looked calm, but her heart beat fast. She wasn't a woman who checked on people. She wasn't the type to chase trouble. She believed in peace, order, and fairness. But silence had grown thick in her marriage, and she could no longer breathe inside it. She drove without music, each mile building tension in her chest. People say the first warning sign is small. They never tell you how clear the last one feels. When she reached the Oslin, she didn't sit and gather courage. She walked in right away. The staff greeted her with smiles. She smiled back, steady and polite. No one knew her world was shifting under her feet. She headed to the elevators. Her passkey still worked. Of course it did. She had designed the system herself. Floor 17. As the doors opened, the quiet hit her first. Thick, heavy, final. She walked toward room 1704. Each step sharpened her focus. Each breath told her a truth she didn't want, but needed. She tapped the key. The lock clicked open. A scent drifted out. Sweet, pricey, not hers. Then she saw them. Red heels beside his shoes. A soft laugh behind the door. A voice she had never heard inside her marriage. She didn't step in. She didn't cry. She didn't touch anything. She closed the door gently, the same way someone closes a chapter they no longer want to read. Selena turned down the hallway with a straight back and a clear mind. Her life had shifted. Her future had spoken, and she would answer it without fear. The ride back home felt longer than usual. Selena kept her hands on the wheel, her eyes steady. She didn't cry. Not once. But her body was alert in a way it hadn't been in months. Her back was straight, her jaw tight, like her nerves were standing at attention, waiting for a command. When she parked in front of their building, she didn't go inside right away. She sat in the car for 15 minutes. And when she did enter, it wasn't through the front lobby, where the staff would ask if she needed help or remind her about the valet tickets. She used the rear elevator. The service one, the one no one watched. Inside the penthouse, the lights were low. The faint scent of his cologne still clung to the air, mixed with something sweeter now, feminine, faint, and unfamiliar. Everin wasn't home. She walked past the dining room table, past the glass sculpture he bought from an auction in Milan. She stopped in front of it, stared, then knocked it over. It didn't shatter. It cracked. She stared at the crack until it felt like a metaphor, then turned and walked into the kitchen. She poured herself a drink. Water, not wine. Selena sat on the counter, bare feet dangling above the marble floor, and she stared into nothing. She wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Not ever, maybe. Because confrontation was about giving someone the power to shape the story. And she didn't want his version of anything. She wanted clarity, and now she had it. The next morning, Selena woke up early, earlier than usual. Her body didn't feel tired. It felt sharp. She pulled on black slacks, a silk blouse, and tied her hair into a low knot. No extra makeup, no perfume. She walked into her office building like it was any other Thursday. But today, she didn't check on project files or client calls. She walked straight into the director's office, quietly, confidently. "I want to be considered for the Paris expansion team," she said. The director blinked. "Effective immediately," she added. "You're due for a long-term contract here, Selena. You're leading 3 high-end builds. I've completed the first phase. The team can handle the second. Paris is a fresh start." He nodded slowly. "May I ask why?" She paused. "Some structures aren't worth restoring." That was all she said. She walked out without waiting for a reply. That night, Evren came home late. He smelled like wine. His coat hung on his shoulder carelessly. His tie was loose, but he looked polished. He greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. Too light, too practiced. She smiled. Not warmly, not coldly, just enough to be forgettable. "I'll be out of the country for a few weeks," he said over dinner. "Investor tour. Southeast Asia." She nodded, cutting her salmon. "Safe travels. You don't want to ask who I'm meeting?" "No." He looked at her then, as if trying to find a crack. But there were none. That weekend, Selena sent in her resignation notice to the current firm and confirmation acceptance to the Paris project lead. She booked her own flight. No business class. Just economy, aisle seat, nothing dramatic. Her suitcase wasn't overpacked. She left a folded note on the kitchen counter. "You'll need to remove my things by Thursday." She didn't sign it. On the flight to Paris, Selena leaned her head against the window and stared at the dark stretch of sky. Her ring was still on, but she turned the diamond inward. It dug into her palm, a reminder. Across the aisle, a flight attendant smiled at her. She smiled back. Calm, measured, whole. When she arrived in Paris, the city greeted her not with love but with purpose. That's what she needed, not sentiment. Just clarity. Her new apartment sat on a quiet street in Le Marais, with a view of the courtyard. Ivy curled up the walls. The air smelled like baked bread and fall leaves. She placed her bag on the couch and exhaled. No one knew she was there. No friends, no family, no press. Just her, her silence, and the life she was about to redesign. 2 weeks passed. She buried herself in work. No time for reflection. No calls returned. Evren texted once. Then again. She muted the notifications. She never opened the messages. But one morning, while she stood in line for espresso, someone tapped her shoulder. She turned. It was Mireille. In person. In Paris. Wearing white. Of course. The woman who broke the silence now stood in front of her with red lipstick and quiet guilt. Selena stared. Not startled. Just disappointed. Mireille looked around, as if making sure they weren't being watched. Then said, soft but bold, "I thought you deserved to know." Selena didn't flinch. "You said that in your message." Mireille tucked her hair behind her ear. "He said he filed for divorce." Selena blinked once. "And that made you feel generous?" "No, it made me feel free." Selena took her coffee and turned to walk away. Mireille grabbed her arm lightly. "He told me he hadn't loved you for years." Selena paused, then looked at her hand. Mireille dropped it. Selena met her gaze. Calm. "And yet, you felt threatened enough to send me a warning." Silence. "You weren't warning me," Selena said. "You were claiming your prize." Mireille's voice cracked. "I'm not with him anymore." "I know," Selena replied. "That's why you're here, chasing ghosts." Then she walked away. That night, Selena didn't cry. She didn't journal, didn't drink, didn't replay the moment. She sat at her desk, tore a piece of paper from her sketch pad, wrote 3 words, not blindsided, prepared, folded it, tucked it in her passport case. The next morning, she returned to work, earlier than usual, as always. But something about her walk changed. Lighter, not healed, but clearer. Like she finally understood something everyone else kept running from. That endings don't need explosions. Sometimes they need a door closing quietly, with no one watching. The studio in Paris had large windows, floor to ceiling, the kind that let in silence even when the city was loud. Selena liked that. It gave her space to think. Her desk faced the eastern light. Every morning, she opened the curtains herself. No housekeeper, no assistant, no automation, just her and the morning sun. 2 months passed. She hadn't said Evren's name aloud since the night she left New York. She refused to give it air. In silence, she'd rebuilt her rhythm. Meals alone, walks to the bakery, work site visits, sketches, late-night edits. The firm in Paris gave her control of a boutique hotel restoration in the 6th arrondissement. The kind of project that required detail, the kind she liked. Columns, crown molding, door trims, quiet luxuries, elements that said power without needing to scream. Clients praised her work. Her team followed her lead. The staff in the firm began to see her not as a guest from the New York office, but as something sharper, a force with no chaos. She stayed late often, not because she had no life, but because the stillness felt right. One of those nights, a man walked into the workroom. He wore a dark coat, a navy scarf, light stubble on his jaw, broad-shouldered, but quiet, almost too quiet for a man his size. "Sorry," he said. "Didn't realize anyone was still in here." Selena looked up. "Working late?" He nodded. "Good. Me too." He crossed the room to grab a set of old blueprints. She watched him without saying anything. His presence didn't bother her, but it was rare. Most men filled the room with too much noise. He didn't. Before leaving, he glanced at her screen. "Oslin Hotel Wing?" She blinked. "Yes. I was part of the original build-out years ago, before they restructured." Selena tilted her head. "You're with Vale Developments?" He gave a quiet nod. "Lazarick." She extended her hand. "Selena." He shook it gently. "I've heard of you. You've seen my worst floor plans, then. I've seen your restraint." That caught her off guard. "Restraint? Most designers want to impress. You let the space speak." She didn't reply, but she remembered that comment. It stayed with her. Over the next few weeks, Lazarick showed up more often, sometimes in meetings, sometimes on worksite visits, sometimes in the shared cafe in the building. He wasn't trying to charm her. That's what stood out. He didn't ask about her past, didn't fish for personal details, didn't perform niceness. He noticed how she wrapped her fingers around coffee cups when she was stressed, noticed how she double-checked dimensions others trusted too quickly, noticed how she stood in corners, not to hide, but to see more. They spoke often, not long conversations, but real ones. One night, she stayed late again. Heavy rain pounded outside. He walked in with 2 coffees. "I didn't ask for that," she said, half smiling. "You didn't have to." She took it. They sat at opposite ends of the conference table, quiet for a few minutes. Then he asked, "Who hurt you?" It wasn't invasive, just steady. She didn't answer. Instead, she asked, "Why do you assume someone did? You don't flinch, but you don't trust ease." She looked at him, and for the first time since leaving New York, she allowed her story to find voice. "I was married, 5 years. He listened. I thought it was real, until it became background noise. And one night, someone warned me, anonymously, told me to check his hotel room. He didn't interrupt. I walked in, smelled someone else's perfume, saw red heels that weren't mine, and heard a laugh that never came from me. A pause. I didn't say a word. I didn't wake him up. I walked out. Another pause. I left him without asking why. I didn't need reasons. I already saw them." Lazarick took a sip of his coffee, then said, "Some men mistake a woman's silence for weakness." She met his eyes. That night, they didn't touch. They didn't flirt. They didn't linger. She rested her head against his chest. Weeks passed. They didn't define what they were. They didn't date, didn't confess, didn't ask for more. But she noticed him in her mornings, in her patterns, in the way she started drinking her coffee, the way he took his, dark, no sugar. One night, he walked her home after a site visit. The air was cool. Paris was quiet. He didn't hold her hand, but he slowed his steps to match hers. At her door, she paused. "You never ask for anything," she said. "I don't need to." "Why?" "Because I don't want a piece of you. I want what you give freely." She stared at him, and for once, she didn't pull back. She leaned in, kissed him, soft, measured, real, then stepped back. "Not yet," she whispered. He nodded. "I'll wait." Back in New York, Evren was unraveling. The firm had delayed a major project. One investor pulled out. His new PR woman tried to repair his public image, but it wasn't working. He'd told people Selena needed space, told friends it wasn't about another woman, told himself he could fix it when she cooled down. But none of his stories reached her, because she wasn't checking. 6 months into Paris, Selena's name began circulating in the elite design world. The Oslin hotel wing was getting coverage. Her style, defined, refined, quiet, was making waves. Publications requested interviews. She declined them all. Her silence was the story, not a mystery, a boundary. Then came the message from Evren. "I'm in Paris." She didn't reply. The next day, he showed up. At her firm, with a bouquet. She stepped out of her office. Calm. He offered a tight smile. "You look good." She nodded. "You too. I miss you." Silence. "I was an idiot." Still silence. He stepped closer. "Selena, please." That night, it wasn't what you think. She tilted her head. "What was it then?" "I was overwhelmed. The deals, the pressure, the image." She stopped him. "You don't need to explain." He brightened, hopeful. "Because it doesn't matter," she finished. His face fell. "I want to fix this." She smiled, not out of kindness, but out of clarity. "You don't fix broken things by pretending they weren't shattered. I didn't think you'd leave. You didn't think I'd find peace without you." She stepped back. "I'm not walking away from anything, Evren. I'm walking toward myself." And with that, she returned to her office, closed the door, let him stand in the hallway, just like she had once stood outside room 1704. Selena didn't look out the window as Evren walked away. She didn't wonder if he turned back. She didn't care. What he had needed was her silence. What she gave him now was indifference, and indifference was louder than rage. Inside her office, she sat behind her desk, picked up her pen, reviewed the tile samples for the Oslin suite. The work calmed her. A junior architect stepped in. "Madame Miro, the lead engineer from Montrose Hotel, is on the line." She didn't miss a beat. "Patch it through." Her voice didn't tremble. Her hands didn't shake. She was past the point of shaking. That night, her phone buzzed again. Blocked ID. This time, she answered. A woman's voice. Controlled. Soft. "You were right." Selena said nothing. "I thought I could keep him. I thought you were the cold one." Still, she said nothing. "I left him," Mirelle said. 3 months ago." Selena exhaled once. "Why are you calling?" "I want to apologize." "Properly, you want relief." Silence. "You want me to make you feel better," Selena added, tone low. "Because guilt has sharp teeth. I didn't know he was still sleeping with you." "He wasn't," Selena replied. "But that wasn't the point. You didn't send the message for me. You sent it to make space for yourself. I wanted you to leave him. And now?" Mirelle swallowed. "Now, I wish I'd left first." Selena nodded, more to herself than to the phone. "That's what you'll live with." She hung up. There was no anger in her chest. No satisfaction either. Just space. Clean, unclaimed space. The next morning, Lazarick knocked gently on her office door. He entered without waiting for a reply. She didn't mind. He placed a coffee in front of her desk, then pulled out a folded copy of the French Architectural Digest. "You made the cover." She raised a brow. He tapped the page. Her photo, side profile, focused on a sketch. Underneath, the headline read, "The woman who designs without noise." She smirked. "They asked for a quote. You didn't give one. I told them to use my work." He nodded. She pushed the magazine aside. "You're quiet this week. Things on my end. Finalizing the Montrose funding. Need anything?" He hesitated, then asked, "Do you ever miss it?" "Miss what?" "Being with someone who used to love you." She leaned back, thoughtful. "No, I miss the parts of me I buried to keep his peace." That answer lingered in the air. She didn't take it back. That weekend, she didn't work. For the first time in weeks, she stayed home. Cooked, read, took a walk through Jardin des Plantes, watched children feed ducks, watched couples hold hands. She didn't feel bitterness. She felt breath. The next week, she received an email. Subject, return opportunity. Oslin Hotel, NYC from CEO, Vale Hospitality Group Selena, stared at it, then opened it. A new wing was in the works. Oslin Hotel had budgeted for a luxury rebrand. The brief requested, high discretion, signature-style visionary lead with international success, preferably a woman-owned firm. Her name wasn't listed, but she knew it was meant for her. She closed the email. Didn't respond right away. Instead, she walked down the corridor, knocked once. Lazarick looked up from his tablet. "Come in." She sat across from him, crossed one leg over the other. "You're expanding the Oslin?" He smiled faintly. "You got the email. Why me?" "Because you're the only one who built that place and had reason to burn it down." She tilted her head. "I want that fire in the redesign," he added. Selena considered the offer. "I'd need full control. My own team. My pace. No marketing interference." "You'll have it." She tapped the arm of the chair. "And it'll be public this time. My name on the glass." "Miro's studio." He nodded. "Non-negotiable." She stood. "I'll take it." Selena landed in New York 3 weeks later. No press, no cameras, just one luggage, one sketchpad, one new nameplate for the firm she now ran. The city looked different, or maybe she did. The Oslin wing was quiet when she arrived. The same carpet she once walked across in pain were now hers to change. She removed the old floor plan from the board, grabbed a pen, and started drawing a new one. 2 floors below, a junior exec at the hotel recognized her. Words spread fast. It took 2 days for Everin to find out. The next day, he showed up. Again. This time, she didn't greet him in the hallway. She met him in the conference room. Glass walls all around. He wore black again. No tie, subtle cologne. Clean-shaven. He brought nothing. "I didn't expect to see you back here," he said. She looked at the blueprints, not at him. "That's because you only knew the version of me who stayed quiet. I came to talk." She didn't invite him to sit. "I never loved her," he said. "She loved herself enough to leave you." He winced. "And you? I designed this floor. I designed the room you used. I designed the silence you exploited. And now," she pointed to the new concept, "I'm designing the legacy." His eyes burned. "I miss you." "No," she corrected. "You miss control. You miss what I gave you freely when I thought I was safe." Silence. "Leave before the team arrives," she said. He left. This time, she did watch him go. Not because she hoped he'd turn back, but to confirm he didn't. Later that night, her team gathered around the long table. Lighting designs, layouts, material finishes. They asked her about direction. She laid down a principle. No noise, only impact. Let the walls speak. They nodded. At the end of the meeting, her assistant approached. "Mr. Vale is on the line." She picked up. "I heard he showed up," Lazarick said. "He did. Are you okay?" "I didn't shake," she replied. "I never doubted that." Silence. Then his voice softened. New York's not so bad when you're the one setting the terms. She smiled. Let's see what we build this time. The new Oslin wing was raw. Exposed concrete, peeled wallpaper, traces of the old architecture beneath the polished surface. It was a perfect metaphor. Selena liked it that way. She stood in the middle of the suite, the very same suite, room 1704. They hadn't changed a thing. She stared at the wall that once muffled someone else's laugh, the floor where red heels once sat beside his leather shoes. She exhaled, not as a release, but as a reset. Her assistant entered with a blueprint tube and paused. Do you want this room redesigned or reassigned? Selena answered without hesitation. We keep it. The assistant blinked. This one? This one. Selena walked to the window. We make it the Crown Suite. Not because of what happened here, but because of what ends here. She rolled out the new blueprint on the central table. A full structural inversion, lighter tones, floor-to-ceiling mirrors, signature textural, layering, and acoustic treatment to ensure only intentional sound remained inside. Every detail was surgical. She turned to the assistant. Start demo next week. Yes, Ms. Miro. Selena walked out. She didn't look back. Outside, the hotel's street buzzed with foot traffic. She moved through it unnoticed, a contrast to the life she once led where she was someone's wife, someone's support act. Here she was her own name, her own project. At the cafe near the firm she ordered her usual. The barista had memorized it by now. Black, no sugar. As she waited, a couple walked in. Late 20s, freshly dressed, arguing softly in French. The woman said something that caught Selena's ear. You always say you're busy, but not too busy for her. The man tried to soothe her with hands and apologies. He leaned close, but she pulled back. Selena turned away. Not because she didn't care, but because she'd lived that conversation, and she knew what it cost. The barista handed her the cup. She gave a faint nod, then returned to her office. Inside, a message waited on her desk, handwritten. From Lazarick. Floor's yours now. Design what you never had. Peace. She smiled faintly. She tucked the note into her notebook, where she kept her napkin from Paris. The one that read, not blindsided, prepared. It wasn't just a mantra anymore. That evening, she stayed late, alone in the building. The blueprints stretched across the table like a battlefield. She paced, adjusted lines, then paused. A shadow shifted in the glass, a familiar one. She turned. Everin. Again. He wore that look, the one people put on when they think charm can erase history. Selena, he said gently. She didn't answer. I've stepped down from Hale Interiors. She raised a brow. Was that supposed to move me? I came to say, you were always better than me. She stayed silent. I spent years trying to feel bigger, louder, smarter. But you were building everything in silence. She closed her sketchpad. You said nothing when you left, he added. Because you said enough while I stayed. He ran a hand through his hair. I thought I could fix it, that if I brought flowers or gave time, you thought your absence could be erased by presence. He flinched. You didn't lose me the night I saw the red heels, Everin, she continued. You lost me the year you stopped asking me how I was. Silence. He nodded slowly. Is it him now? She tilted her head. Do you want the truth? I deserve it. She didn't blink. No. But he listens. He took a step back. She didn't stop him. You can leave through the staff elevator, she said softly. And he did. That was the last time she saw him. The following morning, she met Lazarick outside the building. He was leaning against his car, coat folded over his arm. Bad timing, he asked. No. Good timing. They walked without speaking for 3 blocks. Then, he broke the silence. You look more settled. I put ghosts in order. Yours? His. He nodded. They reached a quiet square. She took a seat on a low stone wall. He sat beside her, leaving space. You've never asked me for anything, she said. Not my place. Why? Because if I matter, you'll let me stay. She studied his face. Clean, tired, but not jaded. His gaze didn't pull from hers. You do, she said, then rested her hand on his. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, just peace, the kind she designed for everyone else, but finally claimed for herself. The Oslin renovation took 6 months. When it opened, the press coverage was loud. But Selena stayed quiet. She didn't do interviews, didn't attend the press walkthrough, but her name was on the plaque. Miro Design, East Wing reimagined, guests lined up, rooms booked out months in advance. And room 1704, it became the suite they marketed as the quietest place in the city. No one knew why, but Selena did. On the night of the launch, she stood at the edge of the terrace, sipping tea. She didn't host a party, just invited her team to dinner. No speeches. When the last guest left, she remained behind. The lights of New York spread below like a promise. Her phone buzzed once. A text from Lazarick. You coming home? She typed back, I am home, but before she sent it, she deleted it. Instead, she took a photo. Her hand, holding her plaque. No ring, no regret, just purpose. And she sent that. He replied with a single word. Understood. Comment. Walking toward myself. If you believe real strength is choosing peace over performance, like this video if you've ever rebuilt your life in silence. Share this story with someone who deserves more than apologies. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more powerful, life lesson narratives told with quiet justice. The Oslin Hotel was hers now, not in paperwork, not in shares, but in reputation, in memory, in every line of marble she had reimagined. Selena didn't need ownership on record. The walls already carried her imprint. And when something carries your name, even without ink, it echoes. Clients noticed. So did competitors. So did magazines that once skipped over her for louder designers who filled rooms with drama, not detail. Selena was different. She built rooms where people could breathe. Monday morning, she entered her new studio, Moreau Design's Manhattan location. It was small, clean, intentional. Glass walls, soft lighting, curved edges, exposed materials, nothing heavy. Every surface invited thought, not performance. Her team arrived slowly. 3 women, 1 man, all hand-picked, young but focused, smart but humble. They didn't worship her. They respected her, which mattered more. At 9:10 a.m., she called them to the table. No PowerPoint, no speech. She slid forward a folder. This is our next project. Van Ennis Hotel. Midtown, full gut and rebrand. 19 months. They exchanged quick glances. Their board approved us after Oslin's relaunch, she added. Then she met each pair of eyes directly. You weren't hired to be mirrors. I want your mind on the table every time. If I'm wrong, speak. If you see better, push. And if any of you shrink in rooms where our name is on the proposal, you're not ready for this studio. No one shrank. Good. Get to work. They moved. Not rushed, not panicked, but precise. After the meeting, she walked to her private workspace, her corner of peace. Wide drafting tables, stacks of materials, samples from Florence, swatches from Berlin, notes written in neat block letters. On the wall, framed, was her old napkin. Not blindsided, prepared. Below it, a small gold plaque Lazarick had sent anonymously 2 weeks ago. Build what they tried to break. It made her smile. She hadn't heard from him in days, but she didn't worry. He wasn't the kind of man who vanished because she was busy. He gave space when needed, checked in without demand. She picked up her phone, typed, "Want to see the Van Ennis model this week?" 3 seconds. Reply, "Thursday. I'll bring the coffee." Short, no fluff, perfect. Later that day, she stepped into a meeting with the Van Ennis developers. 3 men, 1 woman, mid-40s, tired suits, measured politeness. Their leader, Conrad Fay, started in fast, "We want modern sophistication." but not the kind that screams. Selena folded her hands. You want weightless authority? He nodded. You want people to pay 5 figures a night and feel like they're in their own skin? Exactly. She flipped the binder, laid out the visual, layered textures, dimmable lighting, curved thresholds, thermal quieting. Everything built around discretion and depth. One of the men, grey tie, smug smile, cut in. But where's the statement piece? The thing that makes people post it? Selena didn't flinch. We don't design for cameras. We design for memory. He leaned back, unimpressed. That's a hard sell. She turned the page. A rendering of the top floor. One-way mirrored glass panels. A lounge with no fixed center. The kind of space where silence shaped the mood. This room doesn't need to sell itself. It invites you to stay. That's the difference between trend and legacy. The woman on the team looked at her with a slow smile. Sold. The men glanced at each other. One shrugged. All right. Selena closed the folder. This will take time. I don't build fast. I build permanent. They signed the design MOU the next morning. That night, she visited room 1704 again. This time, not as the designer, not even as the client, just as a woman who had returned on her own terms. She opened the door with her master key. The suite was finished. Light maple floors. Soft lighting. No art, just sculpted niches in the walls that held silence like sculpture. She walked through it slowly, stood in the spot where she once froze. She could still remember the scent, the laugh, the ache that had no words. She stood there now, dressed in black, heels quiet against the floor, and didn't feel anything but stillness. Back in her studio, her team was closing down. Jada, her junior designer, approached her desk. Ms. Miro? Yes. I've been meaning to ask. Why room 1704? Selena looked up, then smiled faintly. Because some spaces don't get erased, they get rewritten. Later, as Selena stepped out of the building, a black car pulled up. The window rolled down. Lazarick, still working this late? He asked. She opened the door without hesitation and got in. Van Ennis signed today, she said. He smiled. I saw the transfer come through. Quiet power wins again. She glanced at him. You always know more than you say. That's what makes me useful. They drove in silence. No music. No questions. Only mutual breath. At a red light, he finally said, You know, the world thinks the only way to win is to be louder. She looked out the window. That's because most people fear stillness. He nodded once. Then, after a long beat, he added, But you, Selena, you made silence an instrument. Selena stood by the gallery window the next morning, watching the city wake. Her schedule was full. Her inbox, packed. Her team, aligned. But her mind? Still, no thoughts chasing approval. No voices telling her to adjust. She had nothing to defend anymore. That's what real peace felt like. She checked her messages. A photo from Lazarick, his morning espresso, her book beside it. He didn't need captions. She didn't need replies. That was their language. At 9 a.m., her team gathered in the studio for project reviews. Selena stood at the head of the table. Van Ennis wants adjustments to the top floor spa. They're reconsidering glass walls. Jada spoke up. They think it's too cold. Selena nodded. They're afraid of stillness. Give them texture, heatstone, indirect lighting. Make silence feel warm. Nods around the table. New brief just came in from Miami, said Ray, her assistant. Skyworth Residences. She glanced over the portfolio. Luxury condos. Oceanfront. Discreet clientele. They were shopping for someone who could design privacy. They said your name came up at the investor dinner, Ray added. Twice. She closed the folder. Send a soft decline. Ray hesitated. You're sure? I don't chase what watches from behind glass. We work with people who sit at the table. The team nodded again. She didn't explain further. She never had to. At lunch, she walked alone to the corner bookstore, picked up a new architecture journal, and a worn copy of The Art of Stillness. The owner smiled. "You're the designer from the Oslin cover." She gave a short nod. "Your name's been in the air." Selena didn't reply. She paid in cash and left. Outside, her phone rang. "Unknown number," she answered. Silence. Then, "Selena." She froze, not in fear, in calculation. "Evren." Again. His voice was low. "I didn't come to argue." "Then don't talk." "I signed the divorce papers." She paused. There was nothing left to sign. "You were my quiet. You mistook my quiet for your comfort." He was silent. "You called me to say what?" she asked. "I lost the penthouse. The firm's splitting. I'm untethered." She didn't speak. He added, "I think about that night. The message. I wish I'd come home first." She exhaled once. "You didn't lose me that night, Evren. You lost me when I realized I'd stopped checking for myself." Click. She ended the call, blocked the number, tucked the phone in her bag, and kept walking. Back at the studio, a new client sat in the waiting room. Older man, polished shoes, silver cufflinks, smelled like old money. He introduced himself. "Castle Thorne, hotelier. My wife insisted I come to you," he said. "She says you design silence." Selena smiled faintly. "What do you need, Mr. Thorne?" "My daughter's wedding suite. She's not loud. I want her space to match that." Selena's gaze shifted. This wasn't about a wedding. This was about presence. He wanted the suite to reflect power without pretense. "You're not hiring me for her." He chuckled. "Correct. You're hiring me for the men who'll walk into that suite and realize they're not the most important person in the room." He grinned. "I'll send the contract." That evening, Selena returned to room 1704 again. Alone. She entered, closed the door behind her, stood in the center. In her hand was a folded sheet of paper, the original blueprints for the old suite, the one Evren used, the one Mirelle waited in. She unfolded it, laid it on the table, and without a sound, lit a match, watched it burn, steady, no rush, no fear. She didn't need proof. She had design. She had the finished product, and that was louder than the memory ever was. Later that week, she and Lazarick met for dinner. Not at a restaurant. At her apartment. He cooked. She poured the wine. He stood by the counter, rolling his sleeves, comfortable in her space. "You've been in the press a lot," he said. "I don't read it." "You should." "Why?" "They're calling you the quiet architect." She sipped her wine. "Better than the quiet wife." He turned. "You're not quiet anymore." "I am. But now people hear it." He walked over, handed her a plate, and their hands touched. This time, she didn't pull back. The next day, she received a handwritten letter at the office. No stamp. Delivered by hand. From Mirelle. Selena opened it. "You won. Not in revenge, in freedom." "I still don't know how to do that." Selena read it once, then folded it neatly, placed it under the napkin in her office drawer. No reply. Some things don't need answers. They need distance. At the Van Ennis site, construction had begun. The workers moved with speed. Selena stood on the scaffolding, hard hat on, boots caked in dust. She reviewed every line with focus. This was where she thrived. Not at parties, not at galas, in space, in structure. In truth, that didn't blink. A photographer approached. "We'd love a shot for the feature article." She shook her head. "Photograph the walls. No portrait. Let the room speak." That was her statement. That night, Lazarick sent her one line. "Stillness is a form of arrival." She replied, "So is clarity." 3 months after the Oslin relaunch, bookings hit record highs. Room 1704 had a waitlist. People didn't know why. They just said it felt different, more private, more intentional, more human. That was the effect of design done right. Selena stood in her midtown studio, sipping ginger tea, her heels off. She walked barefoot during review days. It kept her grounded. Every step was measured, Nothing about her work came from above. It started from the floor up. Ray knocked gently. "Request came in from Paris," he said. She glanced over. "Which firm?" "Chaland Hove. They want you for the Maison Vue launch." She tilted her head. That was a legacy brand. Old money. Power. Global eyes. She paused. "Send them a thank you note." "Decline." Ray blinked. "Selena, I'm not returning as a token." Ray nodded and left. Later, she visited the Van Ennis site. Concrete dust in the air. Blueprints rolled up under her arm. Her team waited inside the raw steel frame of the lobby. She walked the floor slowly, then stopped. "This space feels too calculated," she said. One of the juniors frowned. "It follows the model." She nodded. "And that's the problem. We're not modeling silence. We're creating it." She walked toward the far wall. "Tear down this partition. Angle the entrance. Bring the breath in." They nodded, taking notes. Selena didn't raise her voice. She didn't use design jargon to prove her skill. She described intention, and that always translated. Across the city, magazines argued over who had the rights to profile her. The New York Journal called her the whisper behind the city's loudest power moves. She declined the interview. Someone from her past emailed her a screenshot of the feature. The subject line read, "You used to hide behind him." No name, no reply address. She deleted it. She didn't need to prove transformation. She embodied it. That evening, she returned to room 1704 again, not as a designer, not even as herself. She brought someone else, Lazarick. He stood silently in the center, looking around. The room looked alive in soft gold tones, washed by shadow and light. He turned to her. "This is not forgiveness. No. This is closure. No. Then what is it? It's proof I didn't need to destroy anything to win." He walked toward her slowly. "You're still hard to read," he said. I stopped explaining. He nodded. "And I never needed the explanation." She stepped closer. "Which is why I trust you here." They didn't touch. They didn't need to. Some moments didn't require more than presence. Back at the studio, her team was wrapping up for the night. Jada stopped by her door. "Quick question." Selena looked up. Jada hesitated. "Do you think design can undo pain?" Selena thought for a moment. "Design doesn't undo pain. It gives it a shape. So we can move through it. So we can survive it." Jada exhaled. "Thank you." Selena nodded. She understood that question better than most. 2 days later, a delivery arrived at her home. No sender, no card, just a package. Inside, her wedding photo. Cut down the center, folded. She stared at it. The paper had softened from years in storage. It had been carried, possibly held often. She unfolded it, then burned it. No emotion, just choice. And when she tossed the ashes out the window, she whispered 2 words: no return. The next morning, her firm secured a contract with the city, a public building, a memorial redesign. The pitch they submitted, a single line on white paper. Some things deserve to be remembered in silence. It was approved in 48 hours. Selena walked past a sidewalk cafe later that week. A woman called out, "You're the one who fixed that hotel, right?" Selena paused. "I designed the new wing. I stayed there. I don't know what you did, but it's the only room I've slept in without checking my phone." Selena smiled. "Then it worked." The woman waved as she walked off. Selena didn't linger in the attention, but she carried the comment with her, not as praise, as proof. At a gallery opening that weekend, she and Lazarick arrived together. No announcement, no red carpet. Just 2 people entering quietly, dressed simply. Inside, one of the artists leaned over to her. "You're the architect, the one who doesn't speak much." The artist smiled. "My pieces are loud. Yours are not. And yet," she said calmly, "mine stay longer." The artist didn't argue. At the end of the night, Lazarick drove her home. They sat in silence in the car. Neither of them rushed the goodbye. Before stepping out, Selena looked over. "You ever wonder why it was room 1704? She asked. He raised a brow. "Tell me." "Because 17 is strength, and 4 is foundation." He stared at her for a long moment, then said, "You don't just build spaces, Selena. You build standards." She smiled, and finally said what had lived in her mind for months. "Maybe I never needed revenge. Just a name I didn't have to share." The Van Ennis lobby was taking form. Polished concrete, hidden lighting, walls that didn't demand attention but earned it. Every inch held breath. No clutter, no ego. Selena stood back as the new glass panels were installed. A junior contractor whispered to another, "She never yells, but everything moves when she speaks." She heard it. Didn't respond. Didn't need to. Across town, an editor at Metro Interiors sat in her office, staring at a mock-up. Selena's name, her work, her projects, but no quotes, no personal life, no access. The editor frowned. "Everyone wants noise," she muttered. "How do we sell silence?" Her assistant replied, "You don't, it sells itself." Back at the Miro studio, Selena reviewed the new Skyworth brief. This time, she didn't decline. The client was different. She had asked not for a presentation, but for presence. When they met, it was at a construction site. No boardroom, no suits, just boots, drawings, hard truths. The woman, Elara Munez, was a venture investor. Sharp, direct. "Your work doesn't play to trends," Elara said. "That's why I want you." Selena nodded. "I don't build for moments, I build for memory." Elara's eyes lit up. "Good. Because this isn't for a launch, it's for legacy." They shook hands without ceremony. That handshake changed everything. Later that evening, Selena sat at her home desk, drafting an outline for Skyworth. Her phone buzzed. "Lazarick, you ever going to let me take you somewhere that requires reservations?" She smiled, typing back. "Only if it ends in a walk, not press." Reply, "Then it's perfect." Friday, 6 p.m. Friday came. They walked the High Line, wind low, air clean. She wore slate grey. He wore navy. No cameras followed them. No one knew who they were, and that's exactly how they liked it. At one point, he paused beside an installation. Abstract metal curves. Clean. Endless. He gestured toward it. "This piece reminds me of you." She looked. It doesn't rush, doesn't bend too far, doesn't need symmetry to be complete. She stared at him, then said, "You've never asked if I'm over him." "I'd never ask a question I already know the answer to." She nodded once, and he took her hand, for the first time in public, and she didn't pull away. At the studio the next week, her team pitched a new client, high profile, tech wealth. They wanted loud colors, viral rooms, photo moment furniture. Selena let her team present. She watched, listened. When the client asked her for her take, she said only, "I don't design for attention. I design for staying power." The client laughed lightly. "We want people to post about it and forget it 2 weeks later." He hesitated. She folded the brief. "I'll pass." Outside, her team looked nervous. She turned to them. "Don't fear saying no. Fear building something that doesn't outlive the season." They nodded, lesson absorbed. Later that week, she and Lazarick visited a bookstore. He picked up a biography. She grabbed a design text. As they browsed, a young woman hesitated beside them. "Are you Selena Miro?" Selena turned. "Yes." The woman looked unsure. "You designed room 1704. Selena waited. "My sister stayed there after her divorce. Said she slept through the night for the first time in months." Selena's throat tightened. She gave a soft nod. "Thank you," the woman added. She didn't know why, but she said it felt like it was built by someone who understands. Selena's voice was steady. "It was." The woman smiled. She didn't get closure, but she got peace, and then walked away. At dinner that night, Selena told Lazarick what happened. He didn't say much, just reached across the table and squeezed her hand once. The next day, her firm's inbox lit up. An invitation. Global Design Forum. Keynote panel. New York. They wanted her on stage. Selena stared at the screen, then closed the email. Her assistant hovered. "You're not going?" "I already speak through the work." Ray, standing nearby, said, "You know people don't forget the person who says less." Selena looked at him. Exactly. That night, she walked into her bathroom, looked in the mirror, removed the necklace Evren once bought her. A simple silver chain. She placed it in a drawer. Then took out a pendant she'd bought herself in Paris, a quiet obsidian stone. She fastened it and smiled. For the first time, the woman looking back felt aligned. By the weekend, room 1704 had a wait list extending 3 months. Reviews online said things like, "I didn't cry, and I thought I would. I remembered how I liked my silence. Whoever designed this, thank you." None of them knew her name, but she wasn't building for applause. She was building for echoes. On Sunday morning, Selena sat at her window with tea. Sunlight stretched across the floor. Her phone buzzed. A text from an old friend. "I saw him. He looks hollow." She typed back, "He's not mine to worry about," and put the phone away. Peace didn't mean forgetting. It meant not carrying what wasn't yours. Selena arrived at the Skyworth site in flats, hair tied back, no entourage. The lead contractor looked up from his clipboard. "We didn't expect the principal herself." She smiled lightly. "You're pouring concrete today. I don't approve work from emails." She walked the edge of the site, eyes scanning the steel outlines, studying pressure points, cross-vent gaps, spacing. When the foreman asked if she needed help crossing a slab, she shook her head and stepped over it herself. Back at the studio, a reporter waited in the lobby. Ray approached her desk. "He says he's here for a story on America's new queen of subtle power." Selena didn't look up. "Tell him the queen's in a meeting." "You want to reschedule?" "No." "Tell him there is no story." Ray paused, then said, "That'll only make them write louder." "Good," she said. "Noise makes people miss the truth." Later that evening, Lazarick called. "Skyworth's people say you walk around like you already own the place." "I design like I've already lived in it," she replied. He laughed. "You know, you're starting to sound more dangerous than I am." She stirred her tea. "Dangerous is unpredictable. I'm inevitable." There was a pause on his end. "I like that," he said. She knew he did. That weekend, the Oslin Hotel sent her a proposal. They wanted to rename the East Wing. The suggestion, the Miro Wing. Selena stared at the name in the proposal letter. She hadn't asked for it. She never hinted. But the work had spoken. She folded the letter, placed it inside a leather-bound notebook, and wrote 2 words at the top of the next page. Permanent architecture. No reaction. Just decision. On Sunday, she visited the memorial site her firm had been awarded. Still raw. Still full of grief. Names on paper, not yet stone. Her assistant asked if she wanted to hold off the visit. "No," she replied. "The place where people hurt is the place I need to stand." She walked the edges. No press, no sketches, only her. She closed her eyes, listened, and when she opened them again, she whispered, "This will be my quietest design yet." By Monday morning, the Miro Wing announcement had leaked. Online blogs speculated. Interior magazines scrambled for details. News outlets pulled old photos of her beside Ivren, trying to stir something from a past that no longer fit. But Selena gave no statement, not a quote, not a comment, not even a like on the hotel's post. She let the room speak. At her studio, the team moved with more precision than usual. They had seen the news too. Jada stopped by her desk. "Do you want us to release a formal brand statement?" Selena shook her head. "The ones who need to know already do." By noon, the same journalist returned. This time, with a camera crew waiting across the street. Ray walked in, frustrated. "They're not leaving. They're calling it your silent rise. Selena stood, walked to the window, and glanced across the street. Then calmly replied, "Let them wait." But I waited for years, Ray, in silence, on couches beside men who got the credit, in meetings where my sketches were praised, but never named. She turned to him. They don't get a story because I'm finally being heard. They get to listen. From the outside, Ray said nothing else. That afternoon she received a package. No card. Inside, the original hotel floor plan, her first draft of the East Wing, smudged with years, annotated by Evren in faded pencil. Folded beneath it, a handwritten note. "I should have let you lead from the start. E." She placed the plan into her filing cabinet without emotion. The note, she tore it, and fed it to the shredder. There was no bitterness in her chest, only certainty. That evening, she and Lazarick walked the nearly finished Van Ennis site together. "Would you have done it differently?" he asked. "No," she replied, "not even told your side sooner." She looked at him. "I never owed anyone that story." He nodded. "But they built versions of it. I let them." "Why?" "Because sometimes letting them speak first makes your silence more valuable." He smiled. "That's the most powerful thing I've ever heard." She smiled back. "I didn't say it to be powerful." Miro Design's lobby had changed. People now came not just with portfolios, but with notebooks and silence, as if hoping her energy might imprint on them. She noticed. She never commented. She let them observe, because what they saw wasn't magic. It was practice, precision, boundaries no one could shake loose. One afternoon, a young designer from another firm showed up unannounced, mid-20s, nervous, holding her sketches like armor. "Miss Miro," she said quietly, I just wanted to say thank you." Selena looked up from her screen. "I was told I was too soft-spoken to lead projects, but then someone told me to look up the woman who rebuilt room 1704. Selena didn't interrupt. "I saw how you move, how you never beg, how you still win." Then she added, "I never knew a woman like me could do that." Selena stood. She walked to the board, picked up a marker, and wrote 3 words. "Stillness holds power." She handed the marker to the young woman. "Leave one behind," Selena said. The girl smiled and wrote underneath, "I don't need volume, I need space." Selena nodded, and that was enough. Later that week, Selena reviewed the final audio design for the memorial project. Her lead engineer asked, "You really want the outer hallway to have no music?" "Yes," she said. "What will they hear?" "Their thoughts." He blinked. "But that's heavy." She didn't smile. "Grief is heavy. The room should match." A month later, she was asked to speak on a panel. Again, she declined. Again. This time, the host called her directly. "We want to celebrate women who lead in silence." She replied, "Then don't ask us to speak. Show our work. Click. No anger. Just clarity." At dinner that weekend, Lazarick handed her a box. Small, simple, no velvet, just wood. She opened it. Inside, a hand-drawn blueprint of a house with no corners, all curves. Fluid movement, soft structure. He said, "When you're ready to build something no one else lives in." She looked up. "For us?" He nodded. "If you want it." She didn't answer right away, but she didn't close the box either. The press stopped asking for her words. They started quoting her spaces. Design schools began referencing her Oslin work in lectures, not as a case study in aesthetics, but as a masterclass in emotional architecture. Still, Selena didn't give speeches, didn't attend panels, didn't start a podcast. She kept building. At the Van Ennis reveal, the developers stood at the entrance, marveling at how visitors paused inside the lobby. No one reached for their phone. No one asked about social media walls. They just looked. "Why does this place feel like that?" One executive whispered. Selena stood beside him and answered calmly, "Because we didn't decorate it, we respected it." Later, she and her team gathered at their studio. No party, just takeout and quiet laughter. Ray raised a toast with a plastic cup of ginger ale. To the woman who taught us that dignity doesn't need a microphone. They smiled. Selena raised her glass last. To the team who taught me that quiet doesn't mean alone. The next day, a former intern from Everin's company sent her a message. It read, "We all knew you were the one designing the best work, but we also saw how much credit he took. I just wanted you to know, we see it now. The world sees it." She didn't reply. She archived it and went back to sketching. That weekend, Lazarick found her at the Skyworth site. She stood in the center of a bare room, eyes closed, listening. He didn't speak, just watched. After a moment, she opened her eyes. "This will be the listening suite." He smiled. "Named after you?" "No." "Why not?" "Because names fade. Silence stays." Later, as they walked out, he said quietly, "You don't know this yet, but you've changed how people lead." She looked at him. "I didn't try to. You didn't have to." She didn't respond, but she reached for his hand. Comment: Stillness holds power, if you believe silence can build more than words ever could. Like this video if you respect those who don't speak often, but always make it count. Share this with someone who leads with quiet strength. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more stories where dignity wins without noise. The Miro office was different now. Clients didn't come in with flashy proposals. They arrived calm, steady, wanting something they couldn't explain. Something they'd seen in her work, but couldn't find elsewhere. And Selena always gave them less than they asked for, because too much was noise. That morning, a city official visited the studio. A new commission. The design for a public library renovation in a low-income neighborhood. A space full of echoes and neglect. He started with numbers, deadlines, permits, funding. She listened, then asked one question: "What do you want them to feel when they walk in?" He paused. "Like they matter." She nodded, then said, "We'll take it." At home, she sketched late into the night. Not for the city, for herself, her own home, the one Lazarick had offered to build together. A quiet place on the edge of upstate woods, no fences, curved hallways, rooms without sharp corners. She designed it slowly, deliberately. The bedroom had no overhead lighting, only floor glow and natural wash. The kitchen had wide counters, not for display, but for making things that brought people together. The front door had no brass, just matte oak and silence. On Saturday, she met Lazarick on site. She handed him the first sketch. He took it, looked it over, then looked at her. "This isn't a home," he said. She raised a brow. "This is a boundary," he added. She didn't answer, because he was right, and she was finally ready to live on her own terms, without looking back to see who understood. Later, over tea, he asked, "If you had to name the moment everything changed, what would it be?" She stirred her spoon once. "Not when I got the message." He waited. "But when I chose not to answer it." The library project moved fast. Selena walked the site weekly. No clipboard, no rehearsed smiles, just eyes that noticed everything. The walls were thin, the funding tighter, but she refused to let that limit what the space could become. She redesigned the reading area with curved ceiling panels to mute sound, installed floor-level lighting to help children feel seen without being overwhelmed, painted the walls a soft dusk blue, a color proven to calm anxious minds. She called it the Dignity Zone. News got out. The press tried again. "She's designing hope now," one headline read. "The woman who doesn't speak much, but builds spaces you never forget." Still, she declined all interviews. She wasn't marketing herself. She was teaching through blueprint. At the studio, Ray looked up from his screen. "You're trending again." "I don't follow trends. They're quoting you without quotes now." Selena walked over. Ray read the line aloud. "Her work tells you to sit down and listen, without ever raising its voice." Selena paused. "That one," she said. "Let them keep that one." That evening, Lazarick stopped by. He dropped off her favorite pastries from the old corner shop in Paris. She raised a brow. "You went all the way back for these?" I was in town for a night. Could have sent someone. He smiled. Then it wouldn't have meant anything. Later, they sat by the window. Rain tapping glass. No music. He said, "There's a shift in the air around you." She looked at him. He added, "It's not just that people admire you. They're adjusting themselves because of how you move." She didn't respond with praise or deflection. She just asked, "And does that make you uncomfortable?" "No," he said. "It makes me proud." The next morning, she received a letter, handwritten, from a stranger. "Your work gave me silence when I was screaming on the inside. Thank you." Selena read it twice, then tucked it into her drawer beside the napkin, and began drawing the next room. The city library opened with no ribbon, no cameras, no stage, just unlocked doors, and people walked in quietly, unsure at first. Then they paused, breathed, looked around, and for the first time in years, some of them sat without feeling watched. A child read a book on the floor and didn't flinch when someone walked by. A teenager leaned into the silence like it belonged to her. An old man stood near the window and whispered, "Feels like a church." Selena watched from the back of the room, arms crossed, heart steady. She didn't need thanks. She needed impact. Back at her studio, a school reached out. They asked for a workshop, not on design, the email said, on restraint. She replied with one line, "I'll teach them to build without needing to be seen." Later that week, during a review meeting, one of her interns asked, "Why do you leave so much space between pieces?" Selena answered, "Because if everything competes for attention, nothing gets remembered." That evening, she met Lazarick for a walk. They passed by a billboard promoting a luxury firm using loud color, bold type, heavy branding. He looked at her. "Ever wonder if you could have done that route? Louder, faster, flashier?" She shook her head. Flash fades, legacy lingers. That night, she received a call from the Oslin's CEO. The East Wing's numbers had doubled revenue projections. He said, "You didn't just redesign a space, you reset our brand." She replied, "That wasn't my goal." "I know," he said. "That's what made it work." She walked to her desk, opened a drawer, and took out the original hotel floor plan, the one she once burned. This copy wasn't for revenge, it was for reference, because now her designs didn't erase history. They built on top of it, carefully, quietly, permanently. Monday morning, Selena entered her studio to find a package on her desk. Inside, a printed book, title, The Architecture of Dignity, on the dedication page, for Selena Miro, who proved silence is structure. It was from a former intern she barely remembered, now a published author, now quoting her in universities. She closed the book slowly, didn't say anything, just placed it on the shelf beside her own sketches. Later that day, her assistant pulled her aside. "There's a feature in the formalist." I told them no. They didn't ask this time. They wrote it anyway. Selena took the printed copy. Headline, "Miro isn't loud, but try speaking over her." She read the first paragraph, then folded the magazine and placed it in a drawer. "That's the last one," she said. Ray frowned. "You're not proud?" "I am. But the work is the legacy, not the article." That evening, she walked into the new Miro home build, her personal project with Lazarick. The structure was nearly done. Inside, the walls were soft white, curved with natural light play. No square edges, no spotlight furniture, no framed statements, just air, space, warmth. Lazarick was already there, standing by the unfinished window frame. He didn't turn when she entered. He said, "I had a bad habit of controlling too much in the past. Rooms, deals, people." She walked over. "So did I." He looked at her. "And now?" he asked. "Now I design peace." They stood silently. Then he asked, "What would you call this house?" She thought for a moment, then replied, "Mine." And for the first time, the word didn't sound defensive. It sounded whole. The next morning, her team surprised her with something small. A bronze plaque on the studio's back wall. No photos, no announcement, just 3 words engraved. Designed, not declared. She read it once, then nodded. They understood her, and that was all she ever needed. The Oslin Hotel formally unveiled its rebranded East Wing. A new plaque greeted guests at the entrance, the Miro Wing, designed with intent. No lights, no speeches, no ribbon. But the line outside wrapped the block. People didn't just book rooms, they booked perspective. Inside, Selena stood near the concierge desk, watching. She hadn't visited since the announcement. She walked the floors slowly, touching walls, trailing fingertips over finishes she chose during sleepless nights. Every inch was hers, but she didn't need to own it. She only needed to know it wouldn't be erased again. A young couple entered the lobby, glancing around nervously. The man whispered, "This place makes me feel like I should talk less." His partner smiled. "Good, maybe we'll finally hear each other." Selena heard it. She didn't say a word. She just stepped into the elevator and pressed 17. Room 1704 was booked. But management let her walk through before check-in. Inside, everything held. The quiet, the calm. She noticed a small note placed on the entry table for new guests, printed on soft cardstock. Designed by Selena Miro. "This room is for breathing." She blinked once, exhaled slowly, and walked back out without taking anything with her. Later that week, she hosted a private dinner for her team. No press, just a long table, homemade food, quiet background music. She stood to speak, not because she liked speeches, but because they deserved her voice. "I used to believe I had to fight for every inch," she said. "I don't believe that anymore." She looked around the table. "Now I build. And anything that tries to shrink me has to go around what I've already made permanent." After dinner, Jada handed her a small box. Inside, a brass key, engraved with her initials. "For the home you never had to ask for," Jada said. Selena held it in her palm. It was warm. The Miro home was nearly complete. Final finishes, soft fixtures. The air already carried the scent of something finished, not just built. Selena arrived alone that afternoon. She walked through slowly. No photos, no measuring tape, just presence. In the main room, Lazarick had left a sealed envelope. Inside, one simple card. "This isn't your next chapter. It's your permanent address." She smiled, folded the card, tucked it inside a drawer she hadn't used yet. That evening, she returned to the Oslin. This time, not for design review, but for dinner. A quiet invitation-only event, honoring contributors to the city's new wave of restorative spaces. She entered without announcement, yet the room shifted. People noticed not just her dress or her posture, but her silence. The kind that didn't ask for permission, the kind that shaped the room. Evren was there. He stood near the bar, smiling too wide, wearing clothes that still fit the role, even if the role didn't fit him anymore. He saw her. His smile dropped. She didn't avoid him, but she didn't move toward him either. That was the closure. Not conversation, not revenge, not performance, just indifference dressed in elegance. Later, he approached. "You've become someone," he said. She looked him over calmly. "I always was." He nodded slowly. "I miss what we had," she replied without blinking. "You never protected it." He exhaled. "I won't take more of your time," he said. She offered a neutral smile. "You never had it to begin with," then walked away. Back at her studio the next day, she opened her notebook. On a fresh page, she wrote, "Legacy doesn't ask to be seen. It builds, even when no one's watching." She closed it, ready for the final design. The Miro home was finished. No keys handed over, no cameras, no ribbon cutting. Selena walked in barefoot. The walls didn't echo. They held. Warmth spread through the space without needing light. The house didn't showcase her name, but her values. There were no photos from the past. Only clean shelves, soft fabric, And one silent room she called her center. It had no function. It just was. That morning, she brewed tea, then sat on the back porch. The trees moved softly. No cars, no horns, no urgent calls. She had no meetings that day, no reviews, no clients. Still, her phone buzzed, messages from 3 global brands, all asking if she would consult, fly out, lend her name. She turned the phone face down and picked up her notebook instead. In the afternoon, Lazarick arrived with groceries. He walked into the kitchen like it was already his home. She didn't correct him. He cooked. She cleaned. Neither spoke about the projects waiting beyond the hills. Over dinner, he asked, "If you never built another space again, would you be content?" She thought for a moment, then answered, "I'd still be designing. I just wouldn't need permission anymore." He nodded. "You're the first room I ever walked into and didn't want to change." Later, he handed her a letter. No pressure, just a gesture. She opened it after he left. It was a proposal, not for marriage, but for merging firms, not papers, partnership, not names stacked together, but 2 standards woven without ego. She closed the letter, didn't decide that night. Some things weren't rushed, especially not the things built to last. Selena stood in front of a quiet stone. No entourage, no one trailing behind her with cameras, just her and her name tag, the one she wore for her first job in design. The edges worn, letters faded. She placed it gently on the grass in front of her father's grave. It wasn't an announcement. It wasn't for closure. It was honor. "Got it done," she whispered. "You always said I would." Behind her, leaves rustled. Footsteps stopped at a respectful distance. Lazarick, but he didn't say a word. He let her have the silence. Later, when she turned to leave, he walked beside her, not ahead, not behind, equal stride. Back at the Miro home, they sat at the back porch again. Same chairs, same warmth, same stillness. Only this time, there was music playing from inside. Soft jazz, not loud enough to interrupt thoughts. He finally asked, "Did you decide?" She nodded once. "Yes. We'll build, but we won't name it after either of us. Let the work speak." He smiled. "Legacy without a label." "No," she said. "Legacy by choice." She still never posted what happened, never responded to the public drama that played out online during the months before, didn't grant interviews, didn't clarify her side. She didn't need to, because every client who came after came not because she explained, but because she executed. They knew, they saw. Her legacy wasn't noise, it was foundation. 2 weeks later, a small envelope arrived at Miro home. No return address, no name inside, just a single sentence. "I was wrong." It wasn't signed, but Selena knew the handwriting. She folded it once, slid it into the back of her notebook, and never brought it up. Not once. Forgiveness didn't need an audience. She was never invited back to the old firm, but their best clients quietly left and followed her work. No lawsuits, no bitterness, just a quiet migration. People weren't loyal to names. They were loyal to standards. On the 1-year anniversary of her departure, she opened a small scholarship in her mother's name. Full tuition. For young women in architecture with no industry connections, no interviews, no essays, just demonstrated talent. Her only condition? No need to mention me in your application. The students didn't need to say her name. Their futures would. Selena didn't win awards that year. She didn't trend, but she was on site more than ever. And every person she hired stayed, because she paid well, because she listened, because she didn't pretend to be the loudest expert in the room, but she never missed the details. Selena walks the empty home alone at dusk, lights off, barefoot. She runs her fingers along a wall she designed months earlier. Smiles. This wasn't revenge. It was remembrance of who she had always been. She never posted about what happened. She didn't have to. Comment she won without shouting, if you believe dignity and quiet strength always outlast noise. Tap like if this story moved you or reminded you that some battles are won without a word. Share this with someone who needs to know they don't have to explain themselves to be powerful. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more powerful, emotionally charged stories where justice whispers, but echoes forever. Your silence is your answer. Your legacy is the proof. Keep building. Quietly, boldly, always.